In this NewsReel Weekly, I'm going to cover the chances of a soft landing, Elon Musk's trip to Italy, tech, and the stock market. So subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss out on another video. So let's jump into the first segment, which is going to be obviously about the Fed. Now we're talking about the Fed because obviously the US dollar is the Federal Reserve currency, which means that whatever remarks the chair of the Fed they have to make, it impacts not only America, it impacts the whole world. So the Fed delivered a speech on the 13th of December, and in that speech, he did a couple of things. He seemed optimistic. He pointed out that inflation is coming down and the job market, it's still doing good. But he was also very careful with his words. He wasn't overly optimistic, nor was he overly pessimistic with the remarks that he made. And that's because when Jerome Powell speaks, the market listens to each one of the words he has to say. In fact, he's one of the only people who has the power to move the markets by just the choice of his words. And with that said, let's zoom into our topic here. Can the Fed really pull off a soft landing? Is it possible even, and are they even headed to the right direction? So I'm gonna answer that question right now. All right, so with the current circumstances that the Fed is facing now, yes, they're doing a good job at raising the rates at a good level. However, I wanna remind you that the Fed is actually behind all of this mess. They're responsible for all this mess in the first place. Why? It's because they started the fire and then they waited way too long to extinguish it. All right, so let me explain. The Fed printed $13 trillion of COVID relief funds that they then distributed to citizens and corporations. And that started the fire. The $13 trillion dumped into the economy. I mean, everyone from your neighbor to the richest of the richest, they got a COVID relief fund check. Now, whether or not that COVID relief fund check really made a difference in your life or someone else's, it did do one thing. It created a giant inflationary tsunami that we're still experiencing to this day. So yes, the Fed is doing a good job at managing the inflation now, but their lack of judgment is the reason why we're in this mess. Now to the next segment, it's about Elon Musk. So Elon Musk spoke at an Italian political gathering organized by the Prime Minister's brother, and he said a couple of interesting things. As a humanist, Elon Musk mentioned that the world needs more kids, and honestly guys, he's right. So let's take Italy for an example. Italy's birth rate has been on the decline for over 10 years now, and that's not sustainable. As a country, you want to maintain your culture, you want to maintain your heritage and your language. So really, without the younger generation, you're putting your heritage at the risk of extinction. Elon then went on to talk about climate change. As an environmentalist, Elon Musk mentioned that the climate change activists are over-exaggerating the short-term effects of climate change. And again, he's right. In an article written by Mathew, he breaks it all down on how the climate change activists are over-exaggerating the short-term effects of climate change. I'm gonna put the link in the description. And I personally agree with this too. A lot of climate change activists, they go out to make it sort of seem like an apocalyptic thing when it's really the opposite. Besides, if there's one person's advice that I'd take on climate change, it is Elon Musk. I mean, the man believes more in doing rather than saying. Unlike Greta Thunberg, unlike the Just Stop Oil goons, and so many more. Moving on to the next segment, it's about X. So X is in the spotlight because of the rise of anti-Semitic, hateful, and violent content. The European Union announced a formal investigation against X, accusing it for failing to respond to those hateful comments and getting rid of them in a timely manner. Now, I also want to point out, this is not the first inquiry made against X. There was also a preliminary inquiry, again made by the European Union against X around the time when the Israel-Gaza war started. So we're still waiting on what Elon Musk has to say about this. It's probably going to be something that's controversial. Next segment is about the stock market. Dow, S&P, the NASDAQ are all in the green, and they have been doing really, really well in the fourth quarter. Now, let me explain why they're doing so good. Why are they in the green? So the sentiment built around rate cuts is getting stronger and stronger. The last couple of meetings, the Fed has been constantly dovish when it comes to rate hikes. So all of those signals that the Fed is making, it gives the consumer a green light to go ahead and invest in stocks, in crypto, in riskier assets. But there may be more to the story. The Fed has been and still is reducing the size of its balance sheet. So as they sell their security holdings, they're basically reducing the amount of supply of money in the market. So their tightening cycle has been turned on for a while, and it should not be ignored, so keep an eye out for that. Now to the last segment, it's the moonshot meter. First one, this is groundbreaking for sure. Pope Francis allows priests to bless same-sex couples. This obviously goes against the Catholic teachings, but as the Pope mentioned, he wants the LGBTQ community to feel more welcomed in the Catholic faith. Second is about Hermes. Yeah, that clothing brand. That brand's heir plans to give half of his $14 billion fortune to his gardener. Not only that, he's also planning to adopt the 51-year-old gardener. So I guess money does grow on trees. And the last one, this is about Bobby, a Portuguese village dog that also happened to be the oldest dog alive, well, not anymore alive, dies at the age of 31. I don't know what Bobby was eating, but it worked. But that marks the end, guys. That was it for the NewsReel Weekly. I hope you guys found some value in this video. If you did, again, subscribe and hit the bell. Comment down below on what you liked. And I'll see you guys on the next video. So take care.